What's up everyone, welcome back to Lace Up Channel. My name's Mickey. In today's video, I'm gonna give you the 5 aspects of a successful food distributor. The other day, I was going through my entire customer list and every single customer that had ever left our company. And what I found was that the companies that had left, most of them had gone out of business. And then I studied upstream, looking at the customers that were generating the most revenue for me, and I started realizing a pattern for what made them successful. And in this video, we're gonna cover exactly how these people are making tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars. So let's get right into it. When you look at my top 100 customers descending, the ones that pay us the most revenue, you find that the most correlated factor amongst those top 100 is that they do one thing in their business, and that is production. They manufacture their own product. Now I know, most of you are probably sitting there buying from vendors, selling to customers thinking, I'm so far from being able to even think about production because I'm trying to pay the bills, but check this out for a minute. The other day, one of these customers sent me a profit and loss. Ironically, they were asking me to invest in a business so that they could scale it and increase their manufacturing facility. And I'm looking at this profit and loss, and this customer had made 85% gross profit margins over the years. 85% gross profit margins. When you compare that to a company who just buys and sells, those people are operating between 8 and 15%. So that's insane. The amount of gross profits you can generate just by manufacturing. Obviously it entails a much higher startup fee, right? The cost of actually deploying the machines and the team that you need to manufacture and the ideas to manufacture is very expensive. But if you can figure that out, those are the businesses that generate the most profits. And another little thing to tie into this is a couple weeks ago, I went and visited a customer here in Miami. And I walk in and the individual just bought the new Rolls Royce. And I know that this company makes $7 million a year. And I thought to myself, how does a company that makes $7 million a year with 50 employees allow the owner enough cash flow to buy a Rolls Royce? Well, the answer is simple. The products that he makes generate 95% gross profit margins. So he's moving $6.3 million to expenses, paying $2 million a year in expenses, and keeping $4 million a year in net income. Again, when you produce and you manufacture, you're always gonna make more money than if you don't. And that's a good segue into the next aspect of a successful distributor, which is exclusivity. I'm working on a WMS project for this customer that has a business that moves $1 billion a year in revenue. This customer doesn't manufacture, they don't have a plant, they don't have machines, they buy product from outside of the country and they sell it into the country. So how the heck did this customer make something that sells $1 billion a year? Well, what they did was they made an exclusive contract with the manufacturer and said, I'm gonna be your only distributor in the United States. Now, most of you, you're not gonna be able to go out and get a mainstream product and get exclusivity in a country, but if you could find a product that's maybe popular elsewhere, import it into the country and have exclusivity, that's a great chance for you to generate a large amount of revenue. Exclusivity, not just with the product is possible, but also exclusivity over a customer. If you're a distributor, you probably compete with 15 other distributors selling a very similar product, if not the same. So how the heck do you break apart from them other than just lowering your price and eating into your margins? The only way to do it is to get an exclusive contract. And again, most of these exclusive contracts are built over time. They're built when the distributor goes to a customer as just starting up, signs that exclusive deal, and keeps them for many, many years. And as that business grows, the distributor has almost a monopoly on that product for that customer. So having either exclusivity over your product or exclusivity over your customers is a great way to generate a tremendous amount of revenue. The next aspect of my good distributors is great collections. Collections are the killer for businesses that are just getting off the ground. They're starting to do well, but they can't collect. So there's 2 customer segments for distributors. Let's call them chain stores and mom and pops. And the collection agreements between both of those are drastically different. For chain stores, you normally have to sign an agreement which says what their terms are. So they'll pay you net 30, net 60, whatever. But you have to adhere to a certain level of service for them to pay you on time. If you don't adhere to that service, they dock you, and eventually they won't pay you at all because the service is so poor. So those agreements, obviously they're harder to come about, and most of you, if you're smaller, you're working on this segment, which are the mom and pops. And the mom and pops, you were able to close because you cold called them, they needed your product, and they said, yep, distribute it to me. But you go and you've got 7 open invoices with them, and now they're expecting you to drop an 8th. And you have to drop that 8th because this is one of your biggest customers, and if you don't do it, you're gonna go out of business. But here's the irony. If you continue to let them not pay you, you're also gonna go out of business. I was looking at a profit and loss from another customer. The individual had on $2 million top line revenue, over $400,000 in aging with mom and pops. Think about that. $400,000 in aging, $2 million top line revenue. Why weren't they collecting? Well, it's simple. They were terrified of the customer leaving, so they continued to service these customers without collecting. And this is the simplest thing in the world. Every QuickBooks has a little field called a credit limit field. You set the amount of credit you want to give the customer. The moment that they breach that credit limit, you simply don't make the delivery and you force them to pay. Now, I know this is going to add some overhead to your business because now you need to have somebody in charge of these credit limits and in charge of these receivables. But it wasn't until I put that person in place here at LaceUp that we took our collections to the next level. I remember a time where I was rolling over probably $500,000 a year in revenue not being collected. And that's all because I didn't have a person, because it all depended on me, and I had to follow up with old customers to get money that they simply forgot to pay. And I sat there for a minute and I was like, what am I doing? If I hire one person, right? If they get those collections down 20%, they pay for themselves and generate more cash in my bank account. And lo and behold, that's exactly what they did. That person sits here at LaceUp and they manage our credit limit, because if customers don't pay over time, we just shut off their system. That's our credit limit. And they manage calling existing customers whose credit cards don't work, who need to pay, and reminding them to pay us. And just those actions have generated so much more cash in our bank account and have allowed us to continue to grow and scale the business. So having good collections is certainly one of the most important attributes of being successful in distribution. The next attribute is the best distributors have the best salespeople. Almost all these companies, they started with the CEO being the one going out knocking on doors, building relationships, and closing deals. But over time, you grow to a point to where the CEO now has to maybe focus on product. They have to focus on all the employees. They have to focus on the problems within the business itself. And sales kind of falls by the wayside. And even though it's the most important part of a profit and loss, it ends up being the lowest priority for the CEO. So what these CEOs do, at least the very good ones, they hire a good sales manager. For that sales manager, they give them a set of requirements, right? So a set of goals. They need to have goals for number of new customers added per month, number of upsells per customer, average revenue per customer, number of new customer contacts. They should have goals for all of this, and those goals should be tied to when you were selling as a CEO, the things that you were able to accomplish, because if there's a somewhat competent sales rep doing it full time, they should at minimum be able to hit your numbers. So all these companies have a good sales manager, and then underneath they have all the sales reps. And the sales reps need to be a very low base and a very aggressive commission structure. The more they sell, the more they get paid, but they need to inherit the same goals and the same targets placed by the owner to the sales manager, and then from the sales manager down to the sales rep. Last but not least, the most successful distributors, they maintain a very efficiently costed back office. You'll never find a successful distributor with 36 back office folks all doing receivables. It just doesn't exist. As a matter of fact, I've got this story of a customer up in Tampa, and this customer has become extremely wealthy by just operating the back office with himself and one other family member. Now, I'm not advocating that you do this because it's not necessarily the best way to grow a business. There's probably a happier medium. But what this individual did is he added technology through the business to automate ordering, to automate purchasing, to automate inventories. And by automating those things, he didn't have to hire the folks to do it in the back office. And ultimately, he let those profits roll into his pockets and he just reinvested them into a new building or a new piece of hardware. And that's how he continued to grow the business. So maintaining a very efficient back office is a simple way to both cut expenses and generate more cash flow. Now, please don't conflate that with you going out and firing everybody and trying to do everything yourself. You need to find a way to adhere to the same level of collections, have the same level of service, continue to appease your customers, but also eliminate the roles that can simply be done by a simple piece of technology. And here's where my ad plug comes in. That's what we do here at LaceUp. If you're looking for your sales reps to have an app where they can control their pricing and submit sales orders, or you need something to control your warehouse inventory, that's what we do here at this company. And those are the attributes that make for a very successful food distributor. Now, I know these points are vague. It's sometimes hard to get into the weeds and give you actual examples, because that would mean I would have to disclose actual information for my customers. But these are the things that I'm seeing in the marketplace. Go down below in the comments and let me know if you agree or disagree. Let me know what your thoughts are on this video, and I look forward to seeing you next video. Take care. Peace.